Working in a 3-star Michelin restaurant was a dream of mine from the day I began cooking. In today's video, I'd like to share with you my top 5 tips for getting a job in a 3-star Michelin restaurant. But before we get into that, make sure to leave a comment down below letting us know which restaurant you would like to work in most if you could choose any in the world. Let's get into it. My name's Gage. I'm the owner and operator of Sharp Knife Shop located here in Hamilton and in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I've had the amazing opportunity of working in 2 3-star Michelin restaurants, one of which was in Chicago and one of which was in Norway. The former in Chicago was called Grace, and the chef there was Curtis Duffy. The restaurant in Oslo, Norway was called Mimo, and the chef there was Chef Espen. I worked for 2 years at Grace and worked for 3 months at Mimo. So I say none of that to brag, but because I feel like it gives me a unique perspective. I've been there before, and I feel like I have some good tips that could help you achieve your dream. So the first tip for landing a job at a 3-star Michelin restaurant is to get over your fear of working in a 3-star Michelin restaurant. I think all of us are a little bit scared of making that leap into the fine dining world, especially the tippy top of that world being the 3-star Michelin world. It's important to note, though, that everyone has been there before. Everyone has worked at a 3-star Michelin restaurant for the first time, and everyone was terrified, I'm sure, the first time they stepped into one. If you are in a good kitchen and you are part of a healthy culture, you are going to be surrounded with people who want to teach you and want to see you improve and become an integral part of that kitchen. Everyone, as I said, has been in that scenario, and they know what you're going through. So don't be afraid. Do your best every day and have a good attitude, and that will go a long way. Number 2 is ask questions, but not too many questions. It's important to ask enough questions such that you understand the task given to you and you understand why it is you're doing something the way you are doing it. This is going to help you perform tasks to the standard that is expected of you, which of course is going to help you land that 3-star Michelin restaurant job. Too many questions and you're going to start getting in people's way, affecting the workflow of your coworkers or your soon-to-be coworkers, hopefully. And this is not going to leave a good impression on the other cooks in the kitchen or the chef when these cooks report their findings to him. So an example of asking too many questions would be going up to your chef every 2 seconds, getting him to check the cuts that you've made. You should just keep a demo piece in front of you and just match every cut that you make to that demo piece. Asking other cooks questions is a good thing, but if you're continually badgering them with questions, they're going to get frustrated and lose their patience with you. So that leads perfectly into tip number 3, which is be as unobtrusive as possible. Again, you are trying to show the restaurant that you are going to add value, and if you're just getting in people's way and slowing down the normal workflow of your coworkers or soon-to-be coworkers, this again is not going to leave a good impression on your chef or the other cooks in the restaurant. Bringing every single tool that you own to your stage or to your first day at work is not a good idea. You want to take up as little space as possible. You want to ask as few questions as possible while asking enough that you understand what you're doing and all that sort of stuff. But generally speaking, show them that you can be a good part of the team and contribute to the success of the restaurant rather than hinder the success of the restaurant. So a little anecdote here. When I was working at Grace, I opened a garbage bag, much like anyone else would open a garbage bag, I would think, and waved it in the air and shook it to get it open. And another cook came flying around the corner and scolded me real hard for that. And at first I didn't understand why he was so upset. But then he showed me how to gently and quietly open a garbage bag and gently place it into the receptacle. And I understood later that waving a garbage bag around like that could be heard by a guest in the dining room. And though it wasn't during service that I did this, it's always important to, have good habits, and that is a bad habit. So some of these rules can be a little bit strange at first, but you'll quickly understand why things are done in a certain way. So there you have it. Be as unobtrusive as possible. Be seen, not heard. Yeah, that's good. Tip number 4 is be clean. And this is kind of a good segue from the be as unobtrusive as possible thing, because what we're saying here is that you need to be as clean as possible. Being clean and organized is going to help you take up less space and, of course, get in less people's way. Being clean and organized is going to help you work faster and more efficiently and make less mistakes. And it's also important to stay very clean because you never know when a guest is going to come back for a kitchen tour, or you never know when a photographer is going to be coming in during prep time or service to take some photos of the kitchen. So it's important that you present yourself and your station in a professional way. So some examples of good habits to get into are keeping all of your 9-pans or any receptacles like deli containers near or around your station as tight and as square as possible. You shouldn't have deli containers or 9-pans all willy-nilly around your station. You should also make sure that your knife and your cutting board are always wiped down and clean. Additionally, you should make sure any cupboards above you, any stainless steel surfaces around you, or any stainless steel surfaces below you are wiped down, and make sure there's no debris or little streaks on them. Keeping your towel folded at all times could be its own tip in itself. This is one that I had a hard time with. I had a habit of just chucking my rag around. So for the first 2 weeks, Dave Connell, my sous chef, would follow me around and follow my towels, which was not a good look and quite embarrassing if I'm being honest. So keep your towels folded. Tip number 5 is a willingness to learn. You're probably understanding the theme here, which is to be as unobtrusive as possible, don't affect the workflow of the kitchen, and demonstrate a willingness to learn and just an overall good attitude. I, at my first 3-star Michelin job at Grace, was not by any means a good cook. I had never worked in a restaurant of that caliber before, and many of the techniques that I was expected to perform were completely new to me. So it's important that you demonstrate a willingness to learn and an overall good attitude. If you make a mistake, don't make excuses. Say yes, chef, and correct the mistake. And generally speaking, just don't give anyone a hard time if you make a mistake or if you're told to do something a different way. Probably the worst thing you could say to any cook or chef at a particular restaurant is, "Oh, well, at my last restaurant, this is how we did it." As you probably noticed when you walked into work that day, the name on the door was not the same as the name of the previous restaurant you worked at. No one cares what you did at the last restaurant you worked at, especially at that 3-star level. You are told to do things in a specific way, and that matters because at that level, you're doing things to get as close to perfection as you possibly can. And if chef feels that there is a way that gets you closer to that perfection, then that is the way that you should do it, and you should not talk back. Bonus tip: save some money. Now, chances are, especially if you're in Canada, you're going to have to travel to work at any Michelin restaurant, whether that be a 1, 2, or 3-star. If you're living in the States, then chances are there may be a 3-star in your state. But unless you're living in a large metropolitan area, chances are there's not going to be a 3-star around you. Or maybe you live in New York and you want to go work in a 3-star in California. All that said, basically what I'm trying to say is it's going to cost you some money. Flight to get over there. For the first few weeks or months, you might not be getting paid, or you might not be getting paid a lot. And so it's important to have a little bit of cash on hand to get you through those first few months of just kind of getting your feet on the ground. It's also important to be diligent with your saving while you're working at a restaurant. You're not going to make a lot of money while you're there. So don't be going out and spending all your money on crazy dinners and stuff like that, as tempting as it may be. I certainly fell victim to that and ran out of money about halfway through my time in Chicago. And though I was able to stay, I certainly did not live a lifestyle that I would recommend to anyone. And what I mean by that is just, like having to buy really cheap groceries or only eating staff meal for your meal of the day or whatever. So yeah, just be good with your money. I guess that's good life advice in general too. So yeah, there you go, guys. I hope I didn't scare anyone away from working in a 3-star. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. I learned more than I ever possibly imagined. Putting yourself into those uncomfortable and difficult situations are the only way that you're going to learn and improve and get better at cooking. It's also going to open a ton of doors for you when you get back to wherever you're from. Everyone wants to hire someone who's worked at that level. So it's a great thing to do, and I don't mean to scare anyone away from it. So there you have it, guys. Top 5 tips for getting a job at a 3-star Michelin restaurant. Stay sharp.